Welcome to the Code with Reza channel. My name is Reza and I'm here to teach you Python. Today I want to show you how to read values from config files. So let's go to the code. The first way is to read from a JSON file. So I will create a file in here and I would say the name is config.json. And what I do here is I will add a first name as my name Reza and the surname as my surname Ahmadi. So there are two values that we have here, first name and surname, and we want to read it from main. So in main we need to import JSON and we need to open the file config.json in a read mode as f. This is our file object, and we say our config object is json.load and we pass the file object. So this f is this f. We open this file as this f as file object and we pass the f to the json.load. As a result, we have config object now here. Then easily we say first name is config first name and surname is config surname. This first name comes from our config, this first name, and this surname comes from our config surname. Exactly should be the same. Then we can print it. We can print to show it first name and surname. Let's run it and see what happens. Terminal python 3 main.py. Look at here, first name Reza comes from here, and the surname Ahmadi also comes from here. This is how we can read from a JSON file. The next way is using YAML file. For using YAML file, we first need to install the py-YAML library. How do we do that? We say pip install py-YAML. Already installed on my system, but this will install it on your system. Now let's create this time config, but the config.yaml file. So I will come here, create a new file, config.yaml. In here, in the YAML file, I will say first name Reza and surname Ahmed. This is the syntax of a YAML file. So in here, I will remove this part. Now let's write a code to read from YAML file. So in this time I will import YAML. I open the file, config.yaml this time, and in a read mode as f. This is our file object. Now our config is YAML.save load. We pass the f. This is this f. We pass it here. So it loads from the YAML and put it in the config. The config object now shows our configuration. So easily we say first name equals config first name, and this first name comes from here. And exactly the same, we say surname is config surname, and this surname also comes from config here. So now let's run it. Clear Python main y. Oh, we don't print anything. We need also to print it. Print f first name and surname. Now much better. Here, first name Reza, surname Ahmadi. So now this time we read it from a YAML file. How about the next one? The next one is using ini or ini file. So let's create that one. I will come here and I create a new file, config.ini. In here we have sections. General is our first section. Say API key 1 to 3, and debug mode true. And we have another section. This section is timeout, and under this section we have request 30. So our request timeout is 30 seconds, for example. So this is our file. Now we need go. Don't forget that we have two sections, general and timeout. Now let's go to main and remove this code here and write a new code for working with ini file. This time we need to import config parser. Our config is config parser .config parser and config.read our file, which is config.ini. This is how we read it. Now that we read, we can say, okay, our API key is config.get under, look at here, this API key is under general section. So we say the first parameter is section. Under general, we want API key. The first one is the section, the second one is the key. The section is general and the key is API key. Now the debug mode is config.get. What is the section for debug mode? Let's come to config. For debug mode, the section is still general. So we say get from general. Now this time is debug mode. And the last one is request timeout. This is config.get. Request timeout is under another section, is under timeout section. So we need timeout as a section, and the key is request. Here, the key is request. Now we can print it. We can print f API key equals API key. We can print f debug mode equals debug mode, and we can print f request timeout request timeout. Okay, let's test it. We need to come here, clear Python 3 main.py. Look, API key 1 to 3, debug mode true, and request timeout 30. All of them come from this config file. And finally, using environment variables. For environment variables, we don't need to create any config file. We just need to change these. And at first, we need to come to the command console, and we need to set an environment variable. For example, in Mac, I will say export name is the name of our environment variable, and the value is my name. Name is Reza. We exported environment variable. Now we can read it in our code. I just need to say import OS name os.environ.get name. This name is exactly this name, NAME uppercase, NAME uppercase, and we can print it. F name. Now if I run it, this code will read the environment variable and will show us. So Python 3 main.py. Look at here, name Reza. So these are all different ways that you can read environment variables and values from configuration file. I have another video about how to read it from Docker file. Don't forget to look at that one, which is very interesting too. If you're finding this video helpful or interesting, it's a good time to subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with my latest content. We are going to do lots of fun things in this channel. Thank you for watching and see you later.